Interpreting the help. Look, if you're going to be successful with Windows PowerShell, you are going to be reading a lot of help files. So you might as well understand what you're looking at and be able to extract some really useful information from it. And that's what we're going to do in this nugget. Here's how we'll tackle this topic. We'll start by talking about commands and parameters in the help files. And we'll talk about parameter sets, optional and required parameters, parameter values, and positional and named parameters. There's actually a lot of stuff to interpret in these help files. I'm also going to show you how to find stuff in the help system and some of the help files that aren't actually related to commands and parameters. I'm also going to try and help you out by showing you how, in some cases, PowerShell can let you cheat a little bit on this stuff to give you a little bit of a jump start in figuring out all the syntax for these commands. Let's begin on Windows 7 using Windows PowerShell version 2. Now, the actual help system is accessed by a command called getHelp. For example, ask for getHelp, give it the name of the thing you want help with, like dir, and you get the help. Now, you'll notice that this actually scrolled by kind of quick. I missed the synopsis and the name, although I can scroll back up to those. If that bugs you, instead of getHelp, just run help. The only difference is that help internally pipes the content to the more command. And so as you can see at the bottom of the screen, I get a more prompt. I can then enter to get one more line, or spacebar, to go a whole page. Now the help system is designed in part to help you find help files and commands. Just like get command, it accepts wildcards. Help star service star. The difference between this and get command is that help doesn't have a noun or a verb parameter. It's only searching on the name. And it's just doing a string pattern match. It's also not actually searching for command names. It's searching for help file names. Now, for the most part, there's a one-to-one mapping. Every command has a help file. And so using the help system is kind of interchangeable in that fashion. But not every command has to have a help file. I mean, Microsoft is going to do a good job of shipping help files for their commands, but some third parties might not. Also, help has access to things that aren't related to commands. Help about star, which in Canada is about star, gets you these about files. Now, these are totally separate help files that have nothing to do with any commands. These are PowerShell's, well, they're PowerShell's user manual in a lot of ways. So if you needed some help on escape characters, for example, help about escape characters. There you go. There's a whole file that talks about escape characters. And you can use wildcards with that too. If you don't want to type all that, you can just do help about escape star. And if there's only one help file that matches that pattern, instead of displaying it in a list, PowerShell will just go ahead and display it. The other neat thing it can do, I assure you there are no commands that include the word breaking. So here's what happens. If Windows PowerShell can't find a help file that has that in it, it will search the contents of the help file. So this is going to possibly take a second. And it found two help files that contained the word breaking. So it's kind of a full text string match. Obviously, the more help files you have, the longer it's going to take. Now here's a trick. In PowerShell version 2, the help system can only find help files from modules that are loaded into memory. Remember, if I do a get module, I don't have any loaded by default, but I do have a few on the computer. So there's this bits transfer one. Let's look and see if there's anything that has help for bits. And there's some places where it found the word bits in the description, but I'm not seeing any commands that have the word bits. Now let's try loading that module. Import module, bits transfer, help bits. See, now I've got some additional stuff. It didn't have to go looking inside the help files because now it found several commands that have the word bits in their name. So in PowerShell version 2, the help system, like get command, can only help you find things if the module is loaded into memory at the time. So that can be a little bit of a limitation, I suppose, but it is something that you'll have to get used to. Now there are a few different views of the help. When I start by looking at just help dir, I get the name, synopsis, basic syntax reminders, and a description. But there's a lot more available. For example, if I ask it to show me examples, it will. It's 7 examples of just how to use the dir command. Well, technically it's get-child item, but 7 examples is pretty good. I find that most administrators, when they want to use a command, jump right onto a search engine, and you're looking for someone who's posted some examples. Well, I can save you a lot of time. The examples are built right into the help files. Check there before you start wasting your time poring through people's blogs and stuff like that online. Now, another thing you can do if you really want some details is ask for the full help. This not only gives me the syntax and the description, but it gives me a breakdown of every single parameter, a description, whether or not it's required, if it has any default values, if it accepts wildcard characters. All that information is displayed as part of the full help, and after that, you get the examples. Now you'll notice here at the end under related links, it says that there's an online version. Windows PowerShell version 2 ships with these core help files, and it doesn't contain any facility for updating them. Now, this is a core part of the operating system. You know how we update the operating system, right? Hotfixes and service packs. So how happy would you be as a production administrator if you woke up on Patch Tuesday morning and there were several megabytes worth of patches that were just updating help files? You probably wouldn't be too happy. Don't waste my time. Yay, updated help file content, but man, I don't want to have to go through the approval and deployment process for a hotfix just to get help file content. So when Microsoft finds typos or bugs in these help files, which I assure you are there, they were written by humans, how do they fix it? Now, they can't fix the local copy, which is why you might want to get used to using the online copy. Now, this is going to pop up my system's default web browser and take me to the web page where this is documented. In the case of Microsoft commands, this will usually take you to a page on TechNet. You can see which versions this applies to. You can get help for other versions of PowerShell once they are there. And it has all the same information. Your syntax, your detailed description, all of your parameters, all of your examples are in here. Everything is in here. It's really, really nice. You can even, in some cases, find additional examples and notes from other people in the community for some commands. You'll notice at the very top of this, it says that this originally was published in February 2012, but it's been updated since then. So this is probably more updated than the local copy that I'm looking at in the console. I think there's another benefit to viewing this in a web browser too, which is I can float this browser off to my second monitor, and I have something to look at that's actually very nicely formatted. I can look at that while I'm typing the command in my console, so I can have them both up next to each other. So I really actually do use this quite a bit, and I suggest you do as well. So those are some of the different forms of the help file. Now let's start breaking down what's actually in them and what all that punctuation means. Let's start with help get event log. Now what you're looking at in the syntax section here, that's this section, are 2 different parameter sets. Each of the parameter sets starts with the command name. Now focus on this for a second. I'm pretty lazy verbally. I refer to this command as get event log, but it's actually typed get-event log. Don't fall into the habit of typing get space event log, which is what I'm saying, get event log. I just forget to say the dash sometimes, but it's always there. So each of these 2 parameter sets can be identified by the fact that they start with the command name. These parameter sets have very different parameters, and you cannot mix and match between them. This isn't the candy aisle at the grocery store. These are packaged things, and once you decide what package you want, you're stuck with what's in that package. So in this first parameter set, for example, I have a -list parameter. That does not appear in this parameter set. So once I use -list, I'm stuck in this parameter set. The only other parameters I can use are -asString, -computername, and the common parameters, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Conversely, if I decide I'm going to use the -logname parameter, then I'm stuck in this parameter set. I can use -after, I can use -before, I can use -computername because it actually exists in both of these sets, but I can't use -list because there's no -list in this parameter set. So no mixing and matching in between them. Now let's talk about some of this punctuation. We're going to focus on the second parameter set here. This is a parameter. It's the name of the parameter, and you can tell because it starts with a minus. It always, say that, Starts with a minus. Say it out loud. Starts with a minus, starts with a minus. That's how you can tell it's a parameter. That logname is predefined by PowerShell, and if you want to use this parameter, that's what you have to type. It accepts a value in the form of a single string, and you can tell that this is the parameter's value because it's contained in angle brackets. I have a colleague of mine, Jason Helmick, who refers to these as chahuahuas, and he makes little Pac-Man signs with his hands when he teaches class, and he makes the entire class say, how can you tell it's a string? Chahuahuas. So you can just kind of remember that. Now, let's take a look at instance ID. Notice that the entire instance ID, both the parameter name, instance ID, and its value type, int64, are contained within square brackets. Square brackets means this is an optional parameter. In fact, minus after is in square brackets, so it's optional. In fact, everything else is in square brackets, so they're all optional except this one. Now look, I know there are square brackets involved here, but the square brackets do not surround the parameter name and its value. That means minus log name is mandatory. Here's how this works. Get event log. Dude, you forgot to provide me with a log name. I need a log name. All right, well, I'm going to hit Control C. Get event log minus log name, application, let's say. And I'm going to restrict this. So there's another parameter up there. You can look for it. It's called newest. I know it's the parameter name because it starts with a minus. I know it accepts an integer, meaning a number, because of the chahuahuas, the angle brackets. So just give me the newest 10. There we go. And so that's how you actually run this command. So what do these square brackets actually mean? Well, they still mean optional, but they don't mean the entire parameter is optional. They mean just the parameter name is optional. Now, log name appears in the first position. This is the first position, this is the second position, this is the third. So provided you put the string in the first position, then the parameter name is indeed optional. Get event log security minus newest 5. Here's the thing. If you're going to use these positional parameters, and I've been doing it, by the way, when I asked for help dir, what I actually meant was help minus name dir. It's just, this is a positional parameter, right? If you're going to use positional parameters, it's up to you to get them in the right order. What you cannot do is this. That won't work. You've put the log name in the second position. That is not what PowerShell wants. This is the first position. This is the second position. So it's going to try and feed the word security to minus instance ID. The word security is a string. This parameter accepts an int64. I'm guessing that is not going to work. So my suggestion is that you stick with named parameters, meaning you type the name for every parameter. And look, that doesn't have to be a lot of extra typing. Look here, get event log, tab, minus tab, minus n tab, right? You don't have to spend a lot of typing if you're using tab completion. Tab completion also means you're never going to spell the parameter name wrong. Tab completion also means you've been paying attention. I mean, why spend time typing if the computer's willing to do it for you? It really bugs me. I'm going to go off on a rant here. It bugs me sometimes when I'm teaching a class and I'll stand over students' shoulders and they're sitting here doing this. Get event log. Like, you know, you took this class from someone who allegedly knows a lot about the product, and that someone keeps telling you push the tab button. It's one of the larger keys on your keyboard. It's designed to be pressed. Why would you ignore that person? Do you just like making life harder on yourself? Don't make life harder on yourself. Use tab completion. Here's another reason. I'll see folks do this. You see what they're doing? They're thinking, I want the security log, and I know that log name is in the first position, so I'll just type minus security, but that's not it. The minus only comes in front of a legitimate parameter name, and there is no parameter called minus security. You can check the help file if you don't believe me. If you had used tab completion, see, not tab completing. If it doesn't tab complete, you are wrong, not PowerShell. If it's not tab completing, it's time to fall back and read the help. Here's a fun little way to get to the help. Just add a minus question mark. It won't do the pausing at the end of the screen for you, but it'll get you the whole thing. And this is where you would find, oh, I actually meant to type minus log name. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing, if you're looking at the full help get event log minus full, a couple of neat pieces of detail here. For example, as string tells me it's not actually required. If I do want to use it, I have to provide the parameter name minus as string. It is not positional. If we go down to log name, takes a string, it is required, and I don't have to specify the log name if I put the string in position 1. Now it's up to me to remember that. I can't go mixing and matching and stick it somewhere at the end of the line or something like that. But if I want to use it positionally, then I can. So the help file is going to try and give you all of those options. It's going to try and give you all of that information. It's going to try and help you figure that out. But it's up to you to actually remember it all, and it's up to you to actually look at the help so that it can help you. Okay, Windows 8 PowerShell version 3. PowerShell version 3 made some big changes to the help system, one of which relates back to what we discussed in the previous nugget, this business of module auto-loading. If I run get module, I only have the core PowerShell module loaded, but I can still ask for help on things like AD user. PowerShell knows to automatically go look through the help of all installed modules, even if they're not loaded into memory. Now, the first time you ask for help in Windows PowerShell version 3, you're going to get a warning message telling you that there is no help. And that's because PowerShell version 3 doesn't ship with help. Remember, I told you that, Microsoft had bugs and stuff and typos that they found in the help files, some of which they knew about before they even shipped, right? They had to lock down the help file content so they could go get it translated into different languages. Meanwhile, the programmers are still programming the product, and the programmers are making changes that wind up making the help file wrong. So the way they decided to fix that was to not ship help with the product at all. Instead, when you get PowerShell, you run update help. Now by default, this is going to scan every module that's installed on my computer, look inside each module for an update URL, and Microsoft provides that for their modules, go out to that URL and download the complete and full help content. This is probably going to take it a minute because I have quite a few modules installed, but in a moment we should start seeing some progress bar information pop up. Now let's talk a little bit about real world. This requires an internet connection. There it goes. This requires an internet connection, and I know you've got computers on your network that do not have an internet connection, probably servers. I would argue that you might not need the help installed on your servers because you're not supposed to be logging right into your servers, right? It's a server, not your personal Doom workstation. But if you need to get the help on a non-internet connected machine, there's a separate command called save help. You run save help on a computer that is connected to the internet, even if it's just temporarily. That downloads the help files into actual files, and you can stick those on your network somewhere, like on a file server. You then run update help, and there's an alternate source path you can specify by using a parameter, and you point it to that file server, and it will load in and install the help from that location. So this is in the S's now. T's, U, looks like we're almost done. Excellent. You can run update help as often as you want. By default, it will actually only check every 24 hours. If you add minus force, you'll override that. And if it has checked within the past 24 hours, this will make it check again. So you can do that as often as you want to. It's only really going to be a task once a day because it will only actually check once every 24 hours. Now, once you're actually in the help file, help dir, things look pretty much the same. Not a lot's changed there. You still have minus examples, you still have minus full, you still have minus online, but we've got a new option called minus show window. And this actually pops up the local help in a window which can be floated off to a different monitor if you want to. So it's kind of the same advantage as viewing this in a web browser. If you make this window wide enough, the word wrapping will all work. There we go. And this has got everything in it, but there's a little bit of a bug with this in PowerShell version 3. If you have a parameter that has a lengthy description, only the beginning of that description, like the first paragraph, will show up in this help. So if you're looking at this show window and you're like, I don't think that's all there is, you could be right. You're going to want to go back to the console and actually look at the full help instead. Because it's possible some of those parameters have more information, like this one. There's 2 paragraphs there, right? So just be aware of that little snafu that they ran into, and you should be fine. Now, I want to show you a trick. This is also new in PowerShell version 3. And by the way, show window and this trick I'm about to show you will only work on systems where the ISE is installed. So by default, you can't use these tricks on a server, but that's okay because you're not supposed to be using the server as your personal Doom workstation. You're not supposed to be logging onto the server console. Stop that. So let's say we've got a command. Let's say it's get event log. Help get event log. And you're looking at the help and you're like, you know, I can't make sense of this. I don't know what to type. Where do I start? Show command minus name get event log. Just give it the name of one command that you want to see. And it pops up a little GUI. Here's my 2 parameter sets, the one that uses log name and the one that uses minus list. So I can check off minus list. And instead of hitting run, watch now, I'm going to copy, cancel, paste. And it's actually going to show me the command that it would have run, and now I can actually run it. So a little bit more help with syntax that I want to cover too. This is a good time to point this out. You'll notice that minus list does not have a value. So you know, not like this one with the chihuahuas, the angle brackets. That means it's a switch. It's either there or it's not there, but it doesn't take a value. The other thing is another use of square brackets I want to show you right now, and that's when they appear as part of the value jammed up against each other. That means that accepts multiple values. Look at the difference. See, that accepts one string. This accepts multiple strings. Here's how it works. Get event log. Log name accepts one string. I'm going to put newest 5 just so this doesn't take forever and ever. And then computer name, I'll give it 2 computer names. One way to specify multiple values, if the parameter accepts them, is to give it a comma-separated list. And we cross our fingers, and I'm not sure I've got both of those running right now, so one might fail, but let's give it a second and see. Yeah, I kind of thought it might fail on one of those. That's okay. That's how you specify the multiple values, though. We're going to make this work, but I kind of want to save it for when we start talking about remote controlling and all that, so I don't want to spoil the surprise right now. Those are some of the new things in version 3, and those are some of the additional little pieces of information that you can glean from the help file. Again, certainly useful to have that stuff in front of you anytime you need it. Okay, I think we've gotten everything. We talked about commands and their parameters, and we talked about the different parameter sets that some commands offer. Keep in mind, when you pick a parameter that only belongs to one parameter set, you're locked into that parameter set. We looked at how to tell the difference between optional and required parameters, parameter values, and positional and named parameters. Also showed you how to find the about files and how to kind of sort of search for help files, and a little bit about how to cheat on that syntax if you're using PowerShell version 3 or later. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.